Thank you for listening to this episode of Changes Big and Small. This is Damian, your host as we explore what makes change exhilarating. This is one of those episodes with just me on the mic. Last week, I interviewed play expert Brandy Heather. She talked about how we can pay attention to how play occurs in our life and look for opportunities to play more. Today, I'm going to share some of the research about why play is so important. There are compelling reasons to add play to your life. Stay with me, and by the end of the episode, you'll have some concrete ideas of how you can enrich your life with play. Guaranteed or your money back. This episode is for everyone. Let's get started. When I say play, what comes to mind? Are there any adults in the mental image that you create? Do you see yourself in play? Your children? Maybe some children that you know? Or your younger self? What are you imagining when you think about play? As Brandy mentioned last week, it's hard to define play. Medical doctor and play expert Stuart Brown says of play, it's voluntary, it's pleasurable, it offers a sense of engagement, it takes you out of time, and the act itself is more important than the outcome. When we think of that description, we can see that play is individual. What's play to me? Maybe the very thing that you dread doing, or vice versa. What are the things that come to mind for you when you think about things that fit that description of play? Now take a moment, and remember you can always pause this podcast, and imagine a life without play. Dr. Stuart Brown says, our heritage as humans is to play. Yes, we are built to play and built by play. Let's explore why play. Maybe you're not convinced and you think play is for children. Maybe you're not quite sure what its value is in adulthood. Dr. Stuart Brown outlines 8 benefits of play, which you can read on his blog. Remember, all those links are in the show notes for this episode. His research and that of other researchers in the field and adjacent fields, such as about flow, brain health, learning, happiness, work satisfaction, etc., show that play benefits adults in many ways. These include relieving stress, improving brain function, stimulating the mind and boosting creativity, maintaining physical fitness, strength and flexibility, improving relationships and connections with others, improving productivity, and developing social skills. That sounds pretty good, right? Imagine that play can help us in all of those areas. So I've just presented many benefits of play for adults, but you may still find it easier to relate play to your childhood. So let's explore your play story. What is the first memory that you have of play? We discover play early as babies. Then in preschool and elementary school, children have recess, during which they are expected to play. Although recess still exists in middle and high school, it seems to be less play-focused. I remember spending some of my recess doing schoolwork, for example. That was a marked difference from my childhood years when my grandmother, who I grew up with, would say, go outside and play. But as the years went by, the instructions to go outside and play was replaced by instructions to study. Let's do the exercise that Brandy mentioned in last week's episode. Take a moment and think about the last time you played. How did it feel? How long did you spend playing? What happened to trigger that play? and how did it end? Then think about what are the activities that are fun for you and thus playful. Could you make a list of those activities? It might also help to consider your play personality. Dr. Stuart Brown identifies 8 personalities. The joker, a person who likes to crack jokes, and maybe that was you when you were the class clown. The kinesthete, so you like to move around and you're pretty active. The explorer, this could be exploring new realms in the physical world, so maybe you like to travel. Or the mental world, you like taking classes and exploring new ideas. Or the emotional realm, where you like to make new friends. You might be a competitor, somebody who's driven by competition and finds competition to be fun. Or a director. Maybe you want to host your own podcast or put on plays. Or maybe you want to plan an event such as a dinner party. Lots of choices. You might be a collector. Perhaps you collect pottery or stamps or flags or magnets. You might be an artist or a creator who likes to work with music or art or photography or woodworking or sewing. There are lots of options here too. Or you might be a storyteller. Perhaps you'd like to be on the moth stage telling a story. Or you'd like to write a story. Or maybe you just enjoy it when people are around you and you're telling them about one of your experiences. Like with many personality models, you don't have to solely be one of those things or one of those personalities. You can be a combination of these. Or perhaps you even behave differently in different situations. I think the classifications are useful for thinking about the types of activities you enjoy, but don't use it to close yourself up. Rather, use it to open yourself up to more options. Here's a list of things to kind of seed some ideas for you. You might consider which ones do you think of as play, and whether they're things that you would enjoy doing alone or things you would enjoy doing with somebody else, and who that person or those people might be. I'm just going to quickly run through the list. Gardening, playing in the park, sharing jokes, dressing up in a costume or in fancy clothing, playing board games, playing fetch with your dog, playing sports, joining a club, completing crossword or Sudoku, doing some physical exercise, cracking jokes, hosting an event, befriending a fun person. That could be one way to add more fun into your life. Smiling and laughing out loud, trying out new things, singing and dancing, volunteering, going to a sports event, the theater, fair, etc. There are lots and lots of ideas that you might brainstorm, or if you can't think of something, there are lots of resources on the internet with suggestions as well. There are a couple of links in the show notes. So now we've seeded all of those ideas in your brain, and maybe you are getting excited about some things that you could do that could be fun and that could be playful. Well, I have a challenge for you. This week's challenge is to have some fun. Each week, we talk about change and improvement, and the goal is always to be happier, healthier people who feel free, who add some freedom to our lives. And letting yourself go in a moment of fun is one of the ways that you can create freedom for yourself every day. It's something that you can do just for yourself. A gift that has many cascading effects. I invite you to find some time for play every day. I'd love to find out what you consider play. So please share some of your playful moments and tag me. On Instagram, I'm Change is Big and Small. On Twitter, Change is Big Small. On Facebook, Change is Big and Small. Or if you're on LinkedIn, you can tag me, Damian President. I hope that you're feeling inspired after listening to this episode. If you're intimidated by the idea of play, find someone to play with and come share your journey with us on social media or in the Changes Big and Small Facebook community. To receive the podcast every week, hit subscribe in your favorite podcast app, or you can subscribe right on the website if you're listening to the episode there. See you next Wednesday. Have a wonderful week. As always, don't forget that change starts with one small step. How will you play today?